So, okay. We are here. We are going to practice. It's really nice to see many of you. Hey, Carlene, nice to see you. Hey, Vanessa and Razzles. Ellie, hey, Mary Jane. Yes, I saw a few of you checking in earlier as well. Sophia, hey, Sophia. Sophia's going to do that next course. Oh, I saw Kevin's name come up. That's nice. Hi, Kevin. And Paulina, we missed you yesterday, but glad to see you here today. And Mariana. Okay, so we are going to do what I did on, I think it was Saturday, more of a focus on the swimming dragon practice today and also some other dragon forms. And I think I was overambitious at the start of this series of trying to include the 5 animal frolics as well as the swimming dragon practices. So I'm just going to kind of pare it back a little bit, and another time we'll look at the 5 animals. But right now we're going to focus on the power of dragons because they have a lot to do with transformation and change. And this is definitely a time in our lives that I feel like that's a relevant notion, and relevant idea. There's a lot in our world that we can heal, and a lot we can also potentially work to transform, and that's our theme. So I read this at the end of a class the other day, but I love it so much that I'll read it again at the beginning. And it's from the Daodejing, Stephen Mitchell. And dragons, I feel, are old. They're mythological. There's something very powerful in them. And they often are equated with the emperors of China. And the emperors of ancient China were an interesting lot. They had to practice self-cultivation, the earliest emperors. And they could only rule, they could only have the mandate from heaven, they said, if they were in alignment with the Tao. And they could only do that by understanding what cannot be understood. And to me, that's a huge humility. And it's also a courageous thing because the Tao is like love or God or the universe or before God, the Holy Spirit, something before there was something that we can't even fathom and understand. And it's the vastness, the thing that supports everything, and yet we cannot name. So to open oneself to that, and as an emperor to rule a country, basically acknowledging that there is a mystery and that there is a vastness that we can never comprehend, is a beautiful thing. So chapter 70. My teachings are easy to understand and easy to put into practice, yet your intellect will never grasp them. If you try to practice them, you'll fail. My teachings are older than the world. How can you grasp their meaning? If you want to know me, look inside your heart. The heart is the supreme sovereign. It is the emperor of the body. It is the emperor of the land. And by looking into our hearts, we can know this teaching, this Tao, the unfathomable, the incomprehensible, the vast everythingness and nothingness and allness and suchness like thisness, the Buddha taughtness, ta. My teacher this morning was talking about, thisness and thusness and the dharma-ness, the naturalness that we cannot comprehend in our experience, and yet it's everywhere around us. And so that's the simplicity. It's everywhere, and yet we can't really grasp it. My teachings are easy to understand and easy to put into practice, yet your intellect will never grasp them. If you try to practice them, you'll fail. My teachings are older than the world. How can you grasp their meaning? If you want to know me, look inside your heart. It's all in here. So come to standing, please. My teachings are easy to understand. Just start today with one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. One hand on the belly to center and steady, one hand on the heart to touch into this place that can know the unfathomable, the infinite and vast and expansive territory of all things, which includes this moment. And my teachings are easy to understand and easy to put into practice, and yet we can only know them through practice. Our intellect, our mind, will never grasp them. If you try to practice them, you'll fail. This is Wu Wei. You can't reach for and want and strive and try. We can only surrender. And by that surrendering, we make room for the humility that opens us to knowing the Tao. My teachings, like dragons, are older than the world. How can you grasp their meaning? If you want to know me, look inside your heart. So, one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart, softening the knees. And taking time to feel maybe for the heartbeat, feel for the breath. In Zen, which is very, very close to Taoism, Zen Buddhism, they say stay in beginner's mind. It's not to be kind of pre-adolescent, it's not to be kind of reducing ourselves to an ignorant and unknowing state. It's in the beginner's mind that is the freshness, the openness to things that we can actualize and sense. This simple teaching, beginner's mind, the most advanced mind. Beginner's mind, they say there's a lot more room to learn, whereas in the mind of an expert, your options to learn are few. I saw some people maybe typing some messages in. I'll go and check in a little bit. And then just release the arms down and take the arms then out and gather that sense of sometimes needing the security of answers, needing the security of the mental fabrications, the logic. And that can stump us, that can kind of limit us sometimes. And if we really want transformation, we have to surrender the limitations of mental fluctuation and cognition and intellect. So, invitation to clear the limitations of mind, the busyness of it, the jumping around of it. The mind, Alan Watts described as the reduction valve, reduces what we can actually know, because if we really opened our mind to everything, it would blow us wide open, too strong. It's a reduction valve. And then gather what feels like the humility, the sanctuary of the simple practice that we know from our practice, not from intellect. And just gather the humility, the willingness to just open to the inquiry. These are the kind of tools, humility and inquiry, that help us with deeper transformations. It's filling with that capacity to stay humble and inquiring, looking into the heart. gather what you just filled, because humility is a hard one. It's slippery. Our pride, our arrogance often just get the best of humility, our need to control. And gather the humility, the inquiring mind, the not knowing mind, the beginner's mind, and seal this in. Sealing it into the cells of the body, which have their intelligence as well as our brain. And then take the arms and hands out just one more time to the sides, and bring both of the hands together in towards the heart center, lowering the chin towards your hands and your heart. Taking a few breaths there. Joe is saying, wouldn't it be something if all modern leaders would only qualify to lead when they are in alignment with the Tao? I think about that a lot, Joe. Yeah. Razzles is clapping her hands. Yes. Some of you know, I'm also obsessed with hermits. I think of my life right now as hermit light. But many past leaders and strategists and even emperors, they say, early Chinese dynasties spent time as hermits in order to understand the Tao, understand nature and its power. And do 2 more rounds of hands to heart. Summer months, really good for supporting and nourishing the heart, which is the main organ of the fire element. And, this morning I was doing a meditation with my Dharma teacher, Martin Aylward, and he was saying, when we try to control our experience, we're basically trying to be like God. You know, God controls the universe according to some. But what if we just stop trying to be God and we let the naturalness of things unfold? The Tao, the fluidity, rather than try to control experience, harmonize with its change, harmonize with its changing states and its fluid nature. And that is the power that we can latch onto or sense and open to as transformation. And once more, perfect for our theme of our swimming dragon, or the fluidity of experience, not to play the controller so much as soften the controller and open to the adaptable, the resourceful one, the one who can move with the way the river and waters of life move you. And so much of that comes from just letting our heart feel resourced and bright and spacious. So release. And a couple warm-up exercises that we'll start with. Just first of all, you've been standing for a little bit, and shift your weight a little bit side to side. Just let the feet release. And then shift your weight all the way over towards your left leg and foot. Find central equilibrium, get that balance over the whole left foot, and then shake out the right foot. And then shift the balance over towards the right foot and shift your whole equilibrium over there so that the left foot gets light and you can extend up to the crown, down to the pelvic floor, down to the base of the foot, and shake out the other foot. I want to come up with a name like this, like stork stands on one leg and shakes its foot. something like that. And then shift back over to this center and relax through the heaviness, the dropping down, xiachen, the downward immersive energy of qi flow. And we're going to do our constant bear warm-up. So the heaviness of the bear, starting to cultivate that first. So the heaviness stabilizes key areas that tend to maybe get a bit wonky or loose. For example, your knee joints, you don't want the knees turning very much because they function primarily as hinge joints, like the hinge of a door. And you don't want, if you've ever tried to put, or a door that's gone kind of askew and the hinge isn't quite aligned, it's very hard to move the door or close it. And so we want the knees to be functioning the way that they prefer to function, which is not kind of getting twisted side to side. So the heaviness of bear can start bringing awareness to kind of the grounding and stabilizing qualities in your feet, your lower legs. And then bears are furry. So as the arms wrap and they meet the front and back sides of the waist, land them on soft padded fur. Yeah. Yeah, they kind of sense sometimes of slapping can be effective, but for now, cultivating a soft landing. And we'll do about another minute or so. With this last minute, let your center feel centered. The bear stands very upright, even though he's heavy. The eyes stay centered, the spine is centered. But the bear also doesn't suck in its gut. It's got actually a nice full belly, bear belly, like the Buddha belly that moved over into Asia. Nice and full, relaxed through the lower dantian. When we relax the belly, it tends to relax our breathing, which then relaxes our nervous system, which then brings a lot of benefit to our digestive function, our kind of autonomic nervous system generally. So bears have good things to teach us. And then release, slowing that down. Yeah. Observing after your constant bear practice, you feeling through the spine. Yeah. And then letting the arms relax in the center, shake up and down, bouncing wild horse shaking. And images that I've been mentioning for wild horse, I think are really beneficial. When I bring them to mind, they affect how I carry my posture and where I bring my attention and intention. So captive horse versus wild horse. Captive horse wears a saddle, is burdened by the weight of the saddle, has a cinch that binds the saddle to its belly. It's often tightly pulled so the saddle doesn't move. I used to have riding lessons when I was young, and I was really like not quite strong enough sometimes to get the cinch so tight that the saddle would stay put. And without that saddle or the cinch, the belt, and feel what it's like on your back. Get around your belly, your waist. But particularly, you carry tension in the back, the shoulders. So feeling weightless, very unburdened by something like a saddle and a belt. And of course, there's the bridle and the bit. I'm rereading the book Beloved by Toni Morrison, and Paul D is one of the characters in it, and it's a heartbreaking book if you've ever read it, but there are descriptions of what slave masters used to do to their slaves And it's just heartbreaking. But one of the things they would do is actually put a bit in a person's mouth, like a horse, an iron bit, and restrain them that way. And it's just awful. And I think about a horse and what we do to the horse, and we do that to a human being. But here we are, luckily not enslaved, at least physically right now. And we don't have iron piece of metal in our mouth, pulling the mouth side to side. So stretch your mouth open, feel the freedom and the release of the jaw. The freedom not to be having your head pulled or restrained in any way, but very open and soft. Creating the ease around the forehead and the temples. Wild horse. All these animal practices we've been visiting, they're about helping us feel like we're in tune with our nature. A horse can be a horse, and a bear can be a bear, and humans can be a human. But to cultivate this, what qualities we can feel as just a human, innately being human. A human that feels and thinks and breathes and plans and forgets and worries and frets and delights. All these things make us human. Just to let them happen rather than try to control them, rather than try to limit our expression of our innate nature. But also not to let them get the best of us and dominate, and cloud over. It's anxiety, it's a natural thing, but an anxiety can get the best of us and hold us captive and not let the joy flow through, which is also part of our innate nature. And this is all a transformation. So then stop. And then sensing what that feels like. The tingling, I often feel the sensation of just coming alive, of especially arms and hands. And take that into your standing practice. So either Wuji with the arms down as they are, or the arms can begin to lift towards the center. It's the second option. The feeling is you take the stance of Wuji, fullness, the spaciousness, the vastness of the heart and of what the heart represents. Look into the heart, look inside your heart to understand these teachings. The spacious, unfathomable, mysterious, everythingness that is here. In the most kind of fundamental building block ways, this practice of Wuji opens us to that possibility. It's this space of potential, undifferentiated oneness and wholeness, primordial essenceness, which is outwardly, maybe, as you think of undifferentiated oneness, there's a sense of stillness and dynamism, which is what this conjures, this practice. So going through a few key principles. The joint spaces are relaxed. The feet are breathable and soft. If your hands are up, give life to your wrists so that the fingers don't droop down, but they lift like that, and they're continuing from the bones of the forearm into the wrist, into the fingers. Yeah. Shoulders are relaxed. And Mira, let your elbows soften just a little bit down. Yeah. Yeah. If your arms and hands are down, let the fingers release down. And as you're standing, sensing the joint spaces relaxed and open. Crown of the head to the sky, the tailbone and pelvic floor to the earth. Weight centered around the center of the ball of the foot, of each foot. Carleen, let your elbows bend just a bit more so your hands come slightly closer towards your chest. Like that. Yeah. In the front channel, that's it. And then let your hands come apart a few inches. Front channel's relaxed, tongue behind your teeth, teeth closed without being clenched. Back body bright and open, front body soft, receptive. And each of the practices of Qigong can be an ode to oneness. Each of them process of a transformation. Very often the transformations start with knowing ourselves, knowing our responses, our reactions, our tics, our attentions, our spaciousness, our ease, our resilience, our weakness, and befriending all of it. Making room for all of it, letting all of it be part of our innate nature. Not ostracizing any part of who we are, but keeping an eye on this possibility that, to really be given the mandate to rule, be that a country or our own experience. We have to let go. We have to not control so much as just allow for and invite this free flow of experience to unfold. This nature and our naturalness, this sense of our nature and naturalness unfolding. And so every form, every posture, again, is this opportunity to take a step in that direction. So for the remaining couple of minutes, letting the breath feel like it is, inviting it to move in an embodied way. Maybe you feel it in the belly or the chest or the back or the throat. Just noticing what the breathing is like, noticing what the body feels like. These are simple and yet beginner's mind, the most advanced practice. Meeting things as they are, simple and yet endlessly interesting. And yet, whatever is unfolding now that we meet, simple and wow, how do we even know that? That's a huge mystery. What is our consciousness allowing us to see and know and feel? And the great thing is we don't need an answer because the inquiry is just right, just enough. To be in harmony with the Tao, which is unnameable, unfathomable, and yet everything. It's nature, it's the universe. its order, its design. But in that order and flow and design, we can't name it, just know it or feel it through our practice. Older than time. And gradually moving very slowly, like without a sense of rush or time pressure. Bring your hands towards the lower dantian, whether that be up or down in movement. And gradually move the hands behind the back, holding one wrist with the other hand. Massaging the feet by circling on them 3 times one direction. And then 3 times the other. I'm just thinking about hermits, and you know, in this book I have Encounters with Chinese Hermits. It's called Road to Heaven. They discovered that in China there are still hermits, and there were a couple hermits who missed the entire Cultural Revolution. They're like, who's Mao? They were just up in the mountains for 40 years and they had no idea that all this had transpired. And then they came out and they're like, wow, yeah, the sun is still coming up, the moon is still changing phases, the seasons are still changing, and here I am. Quite liberating. So we're going to bring the feet together. And the swimming dragon practices we've been doing, we'll go through the series. Each one relates to a phase or an element. The practice begins with nourishing the dantian, the lower dantian. Your arms rise up, they meet overhead, the palms touch. And then natural breathing, the hands slide down, they pass the forehead center, past the chest center, and they land on the belly center in a diamond shape where the tip of the index fingers and thumbs touch, and it's around the belly button. They surround the belly button like that. Good. So taking a few breaths, nourishing the lower dantian. And then we'll begin with wood element. It's called Standing Tall in a Marsh, again based on a work by Gerald Sharp. The arms expand out, and then they come back in. They rise your hands to the belt meridian, Dai Mai. And the fingertips point to the waist as they circle to the sides, and then you rest your hands onto the waist like that. It's a little bit, dragons are vain, so it's a little bit like, hey, hey, look at me. Yeah, dragons like to show off. So there's a bit of that there. Their innate nature, and we have that in ourselves too, a little bit of joy, like when a kid comes home from school and they've made like a really nice painting or picture, they're like, mommy, mommy, daddy, daddy, look at this. It's really cute. So the practice is simple. As you breathe in, you lift your heels up a little bit or as high as balance allows for today. And then they exhale, or you exhale, and the heels slowly lower down. And like that, continue. You just rise up with your heels, and you'll watch you guys. And then you lower as you exhale down. This builds focus. No need to lift the heels very high. They can be just microscopic. Number 3. As a lift, it can be microscopic. Exhale down. And number 4, you're going to do a total of 8. And notice as you're lifting up and down, whether you can relax your hands, whether you can gently focus the eyes. The eyes are the sense organ of wood energy, wood phase, which this practice relates to. So we're building flexibility and strength, qualities of wood. Wood needs rootedness and strength to grow. And I think one more, is that right? Yeah, 8 in total. Yeah, approximately 8. If you need to do one more after this, that's fine. But exhaling and lowering the heels when you've done 8 rounds. Releasing your hands, pointing the fingers around to the front, the belt meridian, one of 8 extraordinary meridians, and you release down. So what I like about this series is it sort of builds element to element. Next is fire. And the arms flare out, they come in. They start like wood, they lift up to the belt meridian. But this time as they circle, they go all the way around to the kidney area. And then your fingertips make what's called the eagle's beak. The fingertips touch. And the backs of your hands are resting on the back. The hands can touch. Remember, the hands aren't down low near the sacrum or tailbone, or sacrum and pelvis, but they're higher up towards the kidney and mid-lower back junction. So with this one, making sure that you're bending the knees and tucking the tailbone under. This is really important. So Michael Jackson tilt. Tuck the tailbone under and then swivel the left hip forward at the same time that your knees are bent and your hips are tucked under. Inhale back to center. And then again, as you bend your knees, you're tucking the tailbone under like a cat tilt from yoga, and your right hips swivel forward. Now, as you continue, inhale back to center. Remember bending the knees, curling the tailbone under, and as the left hip swivels forward, you can also let your right shoulder come a little forward. And then inhale back up to center. And exhale, knees bend, curl the tailbone under, right hip shifts forward, and your left shoulder can go forward. You can also look forward over that front shoulder. And inhale back up. And exhale, bending, hips to the left, right shoulder forward, and look a little forward so there's that like sassiness. Inhale up. Exhale, knees bend, curl the tailbone under, swivel the right hip forward, left shoulder forward. Inhale up, so you're creating a nice rotation through the whole spine. Exhale, knees bend, curl the tailbone under, swivel the left hip forward, right shoulder forward. Inhale back up. And right side, hips go to the right, left shoulder swivels forward as you look forward. Good. Do a couple more rounds. Looking over the front shoulder. Nice. Yeah, everyone's starting to get this. Many of you have been doing this for a few weeks now, which is great. So you're doing this little spinal rotation. It's the opposite shoulder as hip that goes forward. Yeah, good. Lovely. It's a very good kind of spiral rotation for the spine that affects the digestive system, affects the nervous system, the spinal cord. Yeah, good. Lovely. Yeah, making sure the tailbone tucks under, and then there's that like rotation of the spine. Do 1 or 2 more rounds until your right hip goes forward and your left shoulder goes forward. And then return, inhaling back to center after that right side. Release your hands, float them around the belt meridian, and release the arms. Now before we do earth, we're going to nourish the lower dantian again. So breathing in, reach the arms up, touch the fingers, palms together, and through the center line, passing the forehead center, which is the upper dantian. center of the chest, middle dantian. And resting onto the lower dantian. Good. Breath or two there. And then release the arms and hands down. And remember, this is swimming dragon. So cultivate a little bit of this fluidity rather than rigidity. And let the arms, hands join this time at center. You're lifting up with the thumbs in front of the upper dantian. The elbows, noticing they're reaching out to the two sides. And then when your hands lower back down, stop at the collarbones. And remember, the collarbones are not quite the chest, they're above the chest. So your hands are fairly high. So not here, but here. Yeah. And with here, I'm just going to show you the arms first, close up. So your elbows lift out, but you want to keep the palms together. If there's tension there and you can't close the hands together, keep the hands close together and lower the elbows just a little bit. That can be the alternative. Then let your hands slide over towards the left shoulder as your chin goes over to the right shoulder. Keep your elbows lifted. Inhale, back to center. And then switch, shoulders relaxed, hands to the right shoulder, and chin to the left shoulder. So you're just going the opposite direction of the hands. Do that once more each side. So this is very good for the shoulders, tension in the neck, and often earth element. It exhibits imbalance through tension because we carry a lot of kind of responsibility with earth, and earth tends to be the one that overthinks and worries, and you get kind of the weight of the world on your shoulders. So I'm going to pause back at center, and then we're going to add exactly what we did with the hips in fire. So bending the knees, curling the tailbone under, swiveling your left hips forward. As you do that, bring your hands over to the left shoulder and your chin over to the right shoulder. Then all of that returns back to center. Remember, it's swimming dragon, so very fluid, watery. And then your knees bend, curl the tailbone under, swivel the right hips forward, right hip. And then your hands, palms to the right shoulder as your chin goes to the left. And inhale back into center. See if you can do all of that at once. Swiveling the left hip, knees bend, hands to the left, chin to the right. All of that back into center as you breathe in. Remember to curl the tailbone under, swiveling the right hip forward, hands to the right, chin to the left. Keeping the elbows lifted and the hands, palms at the collarbones, breathing in. Keep the hands, palms at the collarbones as you breathe out, and swivel. This is dragon getting even more sassy, like ooh la la, looking quite graceful, elegant. Yeah, maybe, yeah. And, or at least, you know, wanting to look graceful and elegant. And feeling, again, just that really nice rotation and movement through the spine. Keep the shoulders relaxed and down. And the fluidity of your breathing, your side-to-side movement. You're going to finish to the right side. So the hips swivel to the right, the hands go to the right, the chin to the left. Bring all that back into center. When you lift your hands up, take a breath in and lift them towards the eyebrow center. And then you lower the elbows first. As the hands start to lower down, I'm showing you close up, but just do a little fluid wobble, liquefy it. Yeah, and then you bring your hands back down to the lower dantian. Yeah, nice. It's so nice seeing so many of you get the hang of the swimming dragon, because it's not exactly straightforward, and it's nice to see that the regularity and the consistency of practice is showing. So it looks really good, everybody. And release the arms and hands down. Thanks, Mario. A little bow. And then rising up, I'm going to do metal. So it starts off the same as earth. You're reaching up through to the upper dantian, thumbs in front of the forehead. And then, like you did earlier, the elbows stay out, the hands come to the collarbone area. We're going to be drawing 3 circles. And the first circle is a full circle. So your hips go the opposite direction of your hands. And then you draw a big circle overhead, like the top of a snowman. Then, beneath that circle, again, your hips are just going the opposite direction of the hands. Then you're going to draw a figure of 8. And by drawing a figure of 8, you start to draw those 2 circles beneath that top circle. So there's 3 circles in total, spheres. When you start finishing the figure of 8, you'll point your fingers back towards the left. I'm mirroring you. And then when you lift over to start drawing that top circle again, lift your heels a little bit or more. So it's kind of building on wood, fire, earth. This is called transforming the elixir. And then you draw the figure of 8 after you've drawn that top sphere. Hips going side to side. Remember, transforming the elixir. This goes back to our theme of the transformation, the simple teachings that are known through the heart, looking into the heart, are known through the openness to being humble and inquiring. Heels rise up, heels lower down. Draw the figure of 8. So this is our 3rd round. It's really hard for me to count and teach at the same time. So we're aiming to do 8 rounds. See how I do today. I'm just going to say it. This is number 4. And you lift, heels up, make the circle overhead, heels down, figure of 8. Fluid, so that the fluid changing nature of experience, something you can harmonize with. Number 5, lifting the heels. Good, everybody. Wobble on your heels. And then draw the figure of 8. To me, that feels very therapeutic for the spine. Your eyes can follow the hands. Number 6, except when they go overhead, you don't probably want to look up because that will make you lose your balance. And then here, though, your eyes can follow the hands as they move through the figure of 8. Your knees are bent, your hips are free, oscillating side to side. Number 7. Heels up a little bit or more. Builds focus, strength, balance, and fluidity. Very powerful dragons. So it's also a very powerful form. Swimming dragon was believed to be practiced by the emperors of ancient China for longevity and maintaining a good figure. Number 8. Or maybe the good figure is something more of in the modern interpretations of swimming dragon. I hear that a lot, or I read that a lot. So, emperor, though, really looking to keep the eye on, or his heart on, that closeness to the Tao, the knowing of the Tao. Then when you finish the figure of 8 and you lift overhead, lift the heels, Open your arms. Lower the heels. Your arms go a little bit over towards the right. And then they inhale back up to center. Now, this one is for water. Lifting your elbows up. But again, just as a reminder, if there's tension, pain, injury in the shoulders, keep your elbows bent like that rather than try to strain. If you injure yourself or you are injured and you're working with this, you want to modify it, working to 1/3 of your effort level. So that would be 1/3 or here. Yeah. Otherwise, if there's no injury, you can lift the elbows up. And your arms both go over towards the left and the heels lift incrementally, maybe barely visible to the eye. You want to maintain your balance. And then you exhale the heels down as the arms return back overhead. But keep lifting the elbows, not the shoulders. Inhaling slowly over to the right. Your heels lift. Back to center. Your heels lower. That's one round. We're going to aim to do 8. So in breath, the heels reach up, reaching your elbow of the left side, left arm long. Exhale, heels down, arms back to center. Inhale, lifting the heels, reaching over to the right. Exhale, lowering the heels, lifting the arms. Good. Number 3, continue. Keeping the heels lifted and the arms, elbows lifted. Exhaling back to center. Pause at center and then go over to the other side. Again, the modification is the elbows bent, otherwise reaching the elbows. Exhaling back to center. Number 4, take your time. In Chinese, my teacher says, 不着急, don't rush. Back to center. Over, good. Keeping sense of balance, so you don't have to lift your heels very high at all. Mostly you want to keep that equilibrium and balance. Number 5, reaching over. Yeah. Back to center. Good. Elbows up if there's no injury. Over. Heels up. Back to center, heels down. Number 6. Stay with it. It's not sort of a walk in the park. It's a powerful dragon swimming. Yeah, so you invoke a sense of strength, of power. Number 7, of balance, of fluidity. Back over. Good. If your elbows are really bent, try seeing what it's like to extend them just a little bit, as long as there's no pain. Yeah. And then last round, number 8. Good, everybody. Yeah. Fluid through the spine. Rising up through the heels, reaching over. And then back down with the heels. Arms stay up, breathing in. The palms will join as you breathe out, and you take that sliding of the hands down in front of the upper dantian. Pause. You lower the elbows, you liquefy it through the spine. And first let the hands rest on the lower belly. And let your breathing regulate. Swimming dragon was one of these practices that really caught me off guard, because I finished these, especially water, and like, wow, you know, my heart rate, my breath has changed. And then you lower the arms by the sides and you regulate the heart rate, the pulse. And then take the left foot, step it out. This is what I have come up with. I really like the amalgam of the different elements and phases and more of a free form swimming dragon. I'm going to just start side to side. And it's a beautiful invitation to be embodied, conscious embodiment, this intentional movement. I think I talked about this on Saturday if you were here, but in Chinese there's this phrase or word called yun dong. Yun and dong. Dong means to move. It's often referred to as exercise or translated as exercise, but this is the ancient form of word for exercise. These days there's a word called jian sheng, which means to build the body, very different connotation. Yun dong, yun, I asked my teacher the other day, what exactly does yun mean and point to? And he says it's the very first moment of intentional thinking and thought or consciousness. And what he said is that begins to move the qi. Soon as the intention, 意识, begins to move, it directs the qi, it moves the life energy. And then if you add dong to it, that means the body moves. So the qi then affects the body and its movements. The intention affects the qi then moves the body. And so centuries ago, this was understood now as what we think of as intentional or mindful movement. Not mindless or kind of disembodied, separate movement, but very integrated. And you can change, this is the fun thing about this, you can change the movement through your intention. It's like you imagine there's a boat above you and you're swimming around the boat. Or there's something pretty down on the ocean bed, like a diamond or a jewel, and you might want to get that. And everything, you can let your imagination move, the visualizations move, or just enjoying a good old swim leisurely through the water. Something about my hands like this and the image of being free and swimming like a dragon in the sea is in my imprint, in my cells, and in our ancestry. My ancestry, your ancestry. We were fluid creatures. We most likely evolved out of the water. Unless you believe the aliens came and dropped us on the planet. But that's plausible, who is to say? Keep inquiring, openness to the mystery. And yeah, be your swimming dragon. And come back, side to side. Such a good pattern for the joints, which then supports the health of our bones and muscles, fluids of the body. And then step the left foot back in. Bring the thumbs up to the upper forehead, upper dantian. As you lower the hands, lower the elbows, liquefy it a little through center. And bring the hands to rest back on the belly. And release your arms. And we're going to do another dragon as we did last Saturday and Thursday, I think. This one is from different practices. I first learned this from my husband, who learned it from a guy named Albert Allen, who's an elemental Qigong teacher in London. I'm not sure where he learned it from, but step your left foot forward. So this is like not too wide. You can see from the side, it's not a big step like that, although it could be, but we're just gonna do a small step. And then you're pivoting on your heel, and pivoting on the heel, you're turning the right toes out, or left toes out. When you step, the foot is turned out, and then the knee bends, and you've got maybe 70% of the weight on the front foot. Yeah. And then you shift back, pivot, and step that foot in. Do the other foot, step the right heel forward. You're pivoting on the heel, turning the toes out, bending the knee, and shifting your weight forward onto that front foot. Now, what you're not doing is bending forward like that. You're gonna stay upright. Imagine you're parallel or perpendicular to the ground, and all you do is shift your weight forward, shift your weight back. Shift your weight forward, shift your weight back. Soften the chest. Good. And now, step again with your left heel forward. Turn out the toes. You're keeping yourself upright, bending the front knee, but you're going to turn all the way around behind to look at your back heel. So you get this rotation. Spiraling pattern is part of dragon. And then come back, step the front foot in, change feet, right heel forward, turn the toes out, bend the knee. Remember, you're upright, and all you're gonna do is turn, and you're not like folding over to look at the heel. You wanna keep the crown of the head up to the sky, and you're just looking back at your back heel. Yeah, and then come back. Now we're gonna add the arms. So, Nigel and you, is Nigel still there? Let me find him. Yeah, Nigel and your son. Yeah, can I spotlight you for a second? Because I know you've done this. May I? So I can show something to the group. Is that okay? Okay. So watch Nigel. I'm going to talk you guys through it. And what's your son? I can't remember your son's name. But Nigel, if you took dragon with your arms and you step your left foot forward, yeah, spin the left foot out, lift your right arm up and turn yourself around, but you're blocking with that front arm. Yeah, you're blocking. And your back hand, you're pushing down, you're like splitting apart. And then you're looking at your back heel. Now have your son come around and come to where his forearm is. Nope, around the front, other side. Nope, forearm, the front arm, that one. Yeah, stand in front of him, stand in front of the forearm and push the other side. Stand on the other side, outside of his arm, that's it. Yeah, and then push on his forearm, quite hard. Push, harder. Give it more force, push, really push, really push. Try to push him over. You can't, right? You can't, and he's a strong boy. And Nigel's strong, but this pose, this form is super, super steady. Can you feel that, Nigel? And your son can feel it too, right? So thank you guys. So when you do this form, you are creating a very, very clear force from the front arm, which is a block. Someone's coming at you to attack, you block. And then your back arm, imagine your two hands, they split apart. So there's tension between them, they split apart, and your bottom left palm faces the ground and your hand is flexed when it comes to the bottom like this, it's flexed. And then as it's pushing down, you're turning and looking at that back heel, but that front arm is super strong. And this is a very, very, as you saw with Nigel and his son, very strong position. And then return, shift your weight back, try the other side. So it's really good as well as the rotational component. You're bending your front knee, you're lifting your left arm as a block, your right hand presses down, the palm is to the ground, and you're turning to look at your back heel. Yeah, breathing. And that's dragon form. Come back in. The fun part of dragon form, I just want to show you if you are keen, is you can do your dragon kick. So watch, watch. You're stepping, you're turning, you're blocking, you're splitting, and then with the other foot. Because it's, I'm not quite balanced today, but You can kick with the back foot, because if someone's coming at you from the front, you turn and you kick. If your front toes were not turned out, they're turned straight, and someone was coming at you and you tried to kick, you would hurt your knee. That's why you have to turn your front toes out and then kick. So if you want to try that, have the left foot forward, spin on the heel, right arm forward, left palm down, and then you shift your weight fully onto the front leg, and your other foot can kick up. Yeah, it's a martial application. Yeah, you can try the other foot. So right foot, heel, turning it out, the toes, left arm up, you're looking back at your back foot, heel, shift your weight onto the front right foot, kick your left foot up. Yeah, so you balance, you kind of do a little turn and kick. Yeah. Very strong, very powerful. Yeah, good. Great. Yeah, dragon kicks. Excellent. Okay. So all of our dragons. Actually, we're going to do one more dragon. It's Spirit Dragon Transforms Chi. Dragon theme today. And this is from Bagua. And a few of you have been doing the internal martial arts course. If you're keen to do the internal martial arts course, this one is part of it. So the feet are together, the knees are together. You can either follow along or watch the first time. Your arms and hands come forward. You feel into your tongue, your teeth, your fingers, your toes, the fingernails, toenails, and hair follicles. These are kind of the outermost places where chi can flow in the body. And you open your arms. You imagine yourself starting to get as big as your skin, the universe of your body, or maybe outside, if you're outside, the universe around you. Bend your knees. Carry a ball. You're going to turn. As you turn to the left, look at your back hand as it lowers towards the ground. Big turn, big twist. Then your top right hand is at the forehead and your bottom left hand is at the belly. And you carry a ball around towards the right. Then you make fists with both hands, gentle fists. The top hand comes inside of the bottom hand and you get small as an atom. Draw everything towards the lower dantian, lower belly. Then being small as an atom, you start to unleash or release your fists, open your arms, looking at your back bottom hand. Then inhale, and as you rise, feel yourself get as big as the universe again. And bend your knees and turn, look at your back hand. And Spirit Dragon transforms chi. The top hand at the eyebrows, the bottom at the belly. Carry a ball. You make fists with your hands. Top fist goes inside the bottom fist. You imagine yourself getting as small as an atom at the dantian. Then you release the fists. You open the arms. You look at the back bottom hand. The top arm reaches to the sky. And you turn back towards the front, straightening the knees. Big as the universe. We're going to do that one more time going this direction. Bend the knees, look at your back bottom hand, start to carry the ball. Top hand at the eyebrows, bottom hand at the belly. Make fists, get small as an atom as you curl in towards the lower dantian. Then release the fists, open your arms, pause there. You're going to reverse direction and carry the ball. So now your left hand is at the eyebrows, your right hand is at the belly. Carry the ball around to the left. And you make fists. You get small as an atom, top hand inside bottom hand. Open your two arms. Look at your back hand. Slide your arms open. Get big as the universe. Spirit Dragon transforms chi. From being big as the universe, you start to bend the knees, turn to your right, then carry the ball. Top hand at the eyebrows, bottom at the waist. Make fists, top hand inside, bottom hand, get small as an atom. Then as you expand, look at your bottom arm, open the arms. And then rise like the dragon in the sky, big as the universe. Last time through, bend the knees, turn, look at the bottom hand, top hand to the sky, and the top hand at the eyebrows, bottom hand at the belly, carry the ball. Make fists get small as an atom, then release the fists and get bigger, bigger, bigger. When you turn back towards the front, pause and feel yourself as big as the universe. Big as the universe. My teacher says, if you do this outside and long enough, animals will come and sit with you. They'll be really attracted to you. And then slowly release the hair follicles, teeth, tongue, fingernails, toenails, draw everything back as the hands also draw back in towards the lower dantian. Power of transformation, spirit dragon transforms chi. Take your left foot, step it wide out. So you're going to cover your ears with your hands. Keeping your ears covered, fold forward and stay in the fold for 3 breaths. After your 3 breaths, you stand back up, keeping the ears covered. So when you're ready, cover the ears, fold forward, 3 breaths. After your 3 breaths, keep your ears covered as you stand. And then release your arms and hands off the ears. Shift your weight to the right leg. Step your left foot closer in. Gather the dragon. The power of transformation. The fluidity. The mystery older than time. We are part of this continuum of nature, of the Tao, unfolding just like this, filled with the power of the dragon, the power of your practices to transform, the power of that transformation being the humility, the inquiry into the mystery. Rest your hands back on the lower dantian. Centering and steadying amidst all that changes, moves, and finding your place in that change and constancy of flow. Make a fist with your dominant hand, fold the other hand over that fist, bowing to each other, the many dragons in Zoom today. The power of each individual transformation that collectively can make a change. And bowing to your teachers, past, present, and future, for the power of their transformations and the gifts and wisdoms and insights that that transformation has brought and will bring. And bowing finally to yourself. Bowing to yourself, you bow to those who've given you life, parents, grandparents, ancestors, all those who've come before you, maybe as far back as to the source that is one. Dragon. That's one more dragon we didn't get to today. We'll maybe do that one next week. Thank you, everybody. And if you have questions, I'm around for a little bit.